Hey, I'm Randy, and I'm the Cheap Audio Man. Here at the Cheap Audio Man, we don't feel that audio equipment should cost more than like 4 months of your food budget to feed your family and allow them to live. We don't hate you here at the Cheap Audio Man, so we recommend products that are achievable and that you can find at a variety of retailers. So grab a cup of coffee, sit down, and let's talk about Saturday speaker shootout, less than $300, 6.5-inch version. I love the Saturday speaker shootouts. They're a lot of fun for me. I hope you enjoy them too. Let me put some coffee in here. So we have a new sponsor. Very excited. Oh my gosh, I'm spilling coffee everywhere. No outtakes for this guy. We just roll with it. I'm going to put that on top to keep it warm. All right, so. I bet that's annoying. I'm probably going to hear Shauna's seasonal processed baked goods. We make holiday shapes of your choice into mass-produced baked items. From frankincense to Frankenstein, Shauna's been making processed baked goods with ethics and integrity. All right, who do we have up here? We have a lot of people. Speakers. Yeah. Okay, so we have the Polk S20. Okay? Elac debut, the one that started it all. B6. Cambridge SX-60. And the Elac debut. b6.2. It's a new one. It's the latest generation from Andrew Jones. Andrew, thank you for watching my previous video. And thank you for telling me that I was wrong. Feel small parameters. Who knew? I actually kind of did know, but I was just being stupid. All right, let's talk about specs. Polk S20, 39, spec down to 39 hertz. That's pretty low. Up to 40,000 hertz. 88 dB, 8 ohms, 1-inch Terry-Lean, which is a fancy way of saying soft dome, tweeter, 6.5-inch woofer. It's rear ported. It's $280 currently. We have the Elac debut B6, 44 hertz, also pretty low, up to 20,000 hertz. On my previous video, I said that wrong. I said it went up to 35,000 hertz, but it doesn't. It only goes up to 20K. Sorry. 87 dB, 6 ohms. It's also rear ported, $230. Still available from some places. I don't know how long. All right, Cambridge SX-60, 41, pretty low, up to 22,000 hertz, 89 dB, 8 ohms, 1-inch silk dome tweeter, 6.5-inch paper woofer, front ported, $299. Okay, last but not least, the Elac debut b6.2, 44 hertz, up to 35,000 hertz, 87 dB, 6 ohms, 1-inch silk dome tweeter, 6.5-inch aramid fiber, front ported, $250. Whew, that was a mouthful. All right, I gotta keep my eye on the time so I don't have the camera shut off automatically and then want to put my fist through a piece of drywall. And I'm in my 40s. I shouldn't be doing that anymore, but it still makes me want to put my fist through like a painted piece of drywall that's mounted vertically in my home, because that makes me angry, because then I have to redo things. All right, let's talk about Soundstage and imaging. So I'm going to get this one out of the way real quick. The most intense, three-dimensional, all-encompassing, knock you out of your seat because you've never heard it before, change your idea of what speakers should do for your listening experience is the Elac debut B6, the first generation. This speaker did things I had never heard or experienced from a speaker. My wife, who likes music but doesn't like it nearly as much as I do, I like to bring her in and put her in front of a speaker and just get her take on it from like a normal human being that's not obsessed about it like I am. Her first comment when she sat down and listened to this is she looked around and she says, "How many speakers are running?" And I said, "Just two." Just two. You're in a room and you only have budget for 2 speakers, but you want to have a surround sound type of experience, get the Elac debut B6s. Stand behind it. Let's see. So let's go best and then worst. The Cambridge SX-60. It's not great. It is there. It gets a bit wider than the speakers. I didn't really notice it getting taller or more vertical than where the tweeter was placed. Center imaging was shaky on a lot of songs, not locked in. It's just the worst out of the bunch. I'm sorry, Cambridge, but that's the truth. At least that's not the truth, maybe. For you. For me, it's the truth. That's what I heard when I directly compared the Cambridge to these other speakers. I'm not just going to sit here and say this speaker's bad or this speaker's good. I'm going to tell you why I think it's not as good. I'm not saying this speaker's horrible. I'm just saying it's not as good as the other 3. Okay, we got that out of the way. It's been on my chest for a long time. Okay. Soundstage from the Polk S20. It's good. It's good. So it's surprisingly good because I tested the S15s. I did not care for those speakers. And some of the viewers here upgraded from their S15s and they said, okay, yeah, this speaker's much better. Okay. So imaging is pretty good. It's not finicky. So it doesn't really care if you tow it in a bunch. I mean, it does improve it if you tow it in or if you tow it out. Soundstage, I felt, was pretty good when he pulled these out from the wall a bit, 6 inches. And when I say pull out from the wall, another viewer commented, am I talking about the front baffle or the rear of the speaker? And I'm talking about the rear of the speaker. Because if a speaker's 15 inches, then you can't get it any closer to the wall than 15 inches. However, if you're measuring from the back of the speaker, then you can get it 0.0000001 inches from the wall, give or take. Okay. It's good. It's really solid. Elac debut B 6.2, the most refined. From a sound staging perspective, I don't think it goes quite as wide as the S20s, not nearly as wide as the B6s. But when it comes to imaging, the standout of this speaker is it does forward and aft imaging better than any other speaker I've ever heard. Even better than the debut reference series, which is $600. So while it doesn't go nearly as wide or probably nearly as tall, it gives very accurate placement laterally as well as horizontally as well. It's quite good. It's a bit finicky. You have to get the placement just right, but once you do, it opens up a pretty outstanding experience. Okay? Okay, 9 minutes in. Let's talk about bass. It's really tasty. Everything tastes better coming out of the Stanley coffee transportation device going into my beautiful hand-painted skull mug from the Riviera Maya down in Mexico. I didn't claim it on my customs when I came in. I just put it in my suitcase and brought it in. Shh, don't tell the people that are in charge of that. Okay, bass. Here we go. Most bass presence, these 3. Okay. This one, the Elac B6, is probably, it's not like overwhelming, but I think it's the most pronounced part of the speaker. This one's kind of like, I wouldn't call it V-shaped because the mid-range is very there, but it's got very nice bump on the bottom and I'll get into the treble later. But this is, they're different, but they're both bassy. This one's bassy and just kind of, just a bit too much. Bit too much. You can mitigate that by bringing it way out into the room, which is surprising since it's front ported, right? So bass goes around like a circle, and then depending upon what you have next to it, it'll bounce all over the place, right? Come back to you. And if you're sitting near a rear wall, all that bass energy is going to kind of, think about someone throwing paint on the rear wall. It's going to come down and you're going to hit it. So if it's too bassy, you can just kind of move out from the rear wall, whatever you're listening to. Okay, bass on the debut b6.2 I think is probably the most accurate. And I don't know if it's accurate or not because I wasn't at the recording. I think the only person that could probably comment on that properly is Steve Gutenberg, because he goes to a lot of the recordings. And by the way, Steve is a subscriber now, and he commented on one of my videos. Thanks, Steve. If you're watching, thank you. Love you, Steve. Steve's really cool because he actually reviews things that normal humans can purchase. Okay, b6.2. The bass is very good, very tight. It is affected by placement, as is everything else, okay? Personally, I didn't feel like the bass was balanced with the rest of the song, and when I say balanced, I just mean it sounds proper. Like there's enough bass, there's enough mid-range, there's enough highs, okay? I base that off of being in an audience listening to bands and then going home and listening to their live recordings, and if it sounds similar, then I say the speaker's well balanced. I found that I needed to get this about 6 inches from the rear wall before I felt like it was balanced. However, there's a caveat to this. This speaker, for me, required a lot more break-in than the other three, okay? These three pretty much sounded like they sounded out of the box, regardless of how long I played them. And I've lived with all these for a while. The b6.2 actually took a while before it kind of like figured out what it wanted to sound like. And I'm sure Andrew Jones knew what he wanted it to sound like. But please, I've been involved in manufacturing, and I've been over to China, and I've been in manufacturing plants in there, okay? And I've been a part of the process of making products that need to be broken in. It wasn't in audio, but it was something else that needed to be cycled enough times that it behaved properly and accurately, and we just put them on test benches, okay? And then they cycled them as many times as it needed to get rid of the initial sticking points. And I get it. These speakers, you know, you need to make them inexpensively to make money, and everybody needs to make money. Put a final part in the speaker making process where you put them on a bench and you just play white noise. You can buy a whole bunch of little Class D amplifiers over there, probably next door, hook these up and leave them on there for 20 hours or 30 hours or however long it takes. Because if I hear another manufacturer say it takes 140 hours of break-in, then shame on you for not breaking it in for 70 hours at the factory before you send it out to the consumers. Anyway, it's quite nice after it's broken. Sorry about that. All right. Let's talk about mid-range. Oh boy. Mid-range, okay? Mid-range on the Polk is quite nice. It's clear. It's fine. People say mid-forward speakers. I don't know what that means, because either it sounds like the music sounds or it doesn't sound like the music sounds. I'm going to get on another rant. People talk about, oh, this speaker's rolled off and it's supposed to be rolled off. Really? Is the speaker supposed to be not rolled off if the speaker's not as clear? Well, it's just, that's not how it's supposed to be made. Really? It's not supposed to be clear. It's not supposed to accurately reproduce sounds that hit the microphone. And I've made a few speakers, and I will tell you that when a speaker isn't clear, it's because the driver is cheap. The tweeter, normally. Sorry. I'm very excited today and passionate about this. Okay, so mid-range is clear. It's quite nice. Shoot to thrill, AC/DC did it well. That also speaks to how the crossover is implemented, because the initial guitar on that song kind of bridges the gap between the woofer and the tweeter. And if there's not enough top end at that guitar coming in, it sounds muffled. Okay, veiled, like a wet sheet is over your speaker. This did not sound like that. This did not sound quite as clear, but this speaker is still clear. The mids are there. There's more to do with the treble. Okay, so I'll come back to that. Mids are great and have a hint of thickness, which I enjoy. I call it buttery. The mids on this speaker are buttery and enjoyable while still being accurate and clear. Maybe not accurate, while still being clear. It's a very enjoyable listening experience. If you're going to color a speaker, fine. Color it, make it buttery, make it exciting and bright, but for gosh sakes, don't take away the clarity. Mid-range on this is veiled. Again, not clear. And I don't care whether it's rolled off or not, the mids are just not clear. Acoustic guitars, not clear. Voices, Adele's voice, slightly veiled on Hello. Shoot to thrill, veiled, very veiled. Shoot to thrill was. Yeah. Mid-range Elac b6.2, fantastic. Fantastic. Clear, awesome. What I would consider to be accurate, but again, what do I know? I wasn't at the recording, okay? But from my ear and my listening, it's great. Okay, time check. All right, let's talk about treble. All right, so these speakers have different sound signatures, which I call them. Some are warmer, some are brighter, or neutral. I wouldn't call any of these speakers bright, with a caveat. Polk S20, the highs are very nice. Very accurate. Decay is what I usually use to determine whether or not how a speaker's top end does. Because sometimes when you hear a cymbal hit, it just goes shh. Okay? And that sounds kind of like white noise was piped in at the right moment, at the right frequency, that kind of sounds like a cymbal, kind of like a copy of a copy of a copy of a cymbal. All right? But if you have nice decay, there's shh. Okay? Did it well. Elac debut B6 did it well, although it is less pronounced as the rest of the sound signature, which is still fine. And I found when you turn the Elacs up and get some power juicing through them, that the treble presence comes up. You can also mitigate that by putting a brighter amp hooked up to these. Okay? That's going to bring up the treble a bit. I don't mind that because the treble's still there and it's still clear. Okay? Treble on this is not clear. I think it's because their choice of tweeter was probably cheap. I'm not going to say probably. I almost guarantee it was cheap. Some other people have commented about build quality of this speaker. Oh, I didn't mention how they look. This has got a fake wood grain on it. Comes in a couple different colors. The Elac is not fake grain. It's a vinyl, kind of rough. I've had this speaker for a while, and it continues to kick on, but kick on as in survive. The build quality of the wrap is not great. It comes up on that. That doesn't bother me though. Whatever. I care about how a speaker sounds. The Cambridge looks good. It's kind of a dark, very dark brown. And it's got pretty good surrounds. The exterior of the speaker, I think, is built well. Elac b6.2 is built well. Feels great. Okay, what were we talking about? Oh, the highs. Highs on the debut b6.2. When I first got this speaker, I had a hard time with it, and I returned the first pair that I had. And I said it was bright, and I still kind of feel like it's not bright, it's brighter than the B6, okay? And I struggled with that. And until I got the placement right, I felt like the bass wasn't balanced with the top end. And some commenters have said, I don't think the b6.2 is bright at all. I still feel exactly the same way as I felt about the first pair with the second pair, except everything's kind of balanced itself out better, and I feel like the bass has come up as I've lived with this speaker longer. Regardless, I said irregardless on one video. Regardless, the highs are very well done, very accurate. Steve Winwood, Higher Love, which is an incredible audiophile song, because at the beginning there's a whole bunch of percussion going on, and there's a lot of separation. And if a speaker does a good job, it's going to keep everything in its where it's supposed to be. I'll check the time. And there is rim hits on that. Oh yeah, very accurate, very nice. What are my final thoughts? And I know, all right, these guys, these big bone beauties up here are pushing the capacity of my folding table with my blue sheet that I have on top of it, okay? I'm trying to find a better table, but you know what? I just want to bring you videos on the internet so that you can be more informed with your purchasing decisions about speakers. So, table hasn't been high on the priority, but I digress. What are my final thoughts and the awards to these big speakers? Ooh, final thoughts are, number one, the S20 surprised the heck out of me because the S15 I thought was absolutely horrible. The B6 blew me away and absolutely changed my expectations about what a speaker can do. It soundstages and images still to this day like no other speaker I've experienced. The sound signature, while is not exciting, and the first time I heard the speaker was at Magnolia in the listening room at Best Buy, compared to other speakers, I didn't end up getting it simply because I felt the other speakers just sounded better. But it's not that they sounded better, it's that they had more pronounced top end. And I think for the majority of people, that's going to sound like a more desirable speaker. But when I got them and I lived with them and I was blown away, and I spent time with them, that treble I felt was fine, actually perfect. And that's another thing. When you are not A, B, C, and D-ing speakers, comparing them directly to one another, and you live with a speaker, it's called brain burn-in, or you get accustomed to the sound signature. And if a speaker is more stepped back, it starts to come forward. If a speaker is rolled off on top, that top end kind of balances out. It has a lot to do with just our brain getting accustomed to the sound, and maybe the speaker breaking in a little bit. I don't know. Point is that even when a speaker compared to another speaker sounds like it has limitations, those limitations may go away if you buy it and live with it for a while. Okay? Final thoughts on the Cambridge. Don't buy it at $299. No, absolutely not. It's not nearly as good as any of these other ones. I'm sorry, Cambridge, but your speaker is not clear, and I think you should spend more money on your tweeter. Final thoughts on the debut b6.2. Astounding and magical in a different way than the first generation is magical. This is not just a better version of this. This is a different speaker that has different magic, and I think these two can live quite well with one another, and you can switch them out after 3 or 4 months and enjoy a different sound signature. I feel like they have a different sound signature. It's just not a slightly better version of this at all. I think this speaker does horizontal imaging and layering better than any speaker I've heard. Maybe. I just got a new one in and it's pretty awesome. It's like twice as expensive though, okay? At $250, I think this is a true audiophile speaker. That is not necessarily a compliment. I feel like audiophile equipment needs to have synergy amongst its electronics, as well as sometimes is more finicky about placement. S20 is set it and forget it. You can tweak it and make it better. I also think the debut B6 is kind of set it and forget it. You can tweak it and make it better. I felt like the debut b6.2 took more tweaking, but when I got it right, it was jaw-droppingly awesome. Okay, so just bear in mind. All right, let's do the awards. The Rock and Roll Skull Award goes to the Polk S20. Surprised and very much pleased with this speaker. It's a very good speaker. At $280, it'll punch you in the face, then pick you up and have a nice chat over seafood dinner, and you make up and you be friends. Okay? It's powerful. All right? The Monkey Award, which goes to the speaker that's looking out at all the other speakers that's better than it, goes to the Cambridge. I wouldn't buy this. I wouldn't buy it. Not with these other speakers here. It's not clear. And that is not... Speakers, I don't think, should be not clear. All right. This is a very difficult decision. Okay? So, I think the skull is going to go to the Elac debut B6, the first generation. And I don't know what the skull means except that it's awesome. I don't think as, obviously, Buddha goes to b6.2. While this is an experience that up to that point I'd never heard before, I don't think it is as well balanced with the other speakers, b6.2. It's still a fantastic speaker, and at $230, absolute bargain. I would get it just to have it and be able to experience that crazy sound staging. Then goes the b6.2. Sorry, we're running out of time. b6.2, because if you get the placement right, it's incredible. Doesn't sound stage quite as much as the original, but if you want a speaker that just does everything right and you can get the placement right, it's the Elac debut b6.2. Hey, if you want to try Amazon Music HD for free, click on the link in the description, scroll down and click on Try HD. And fill your soul with happiness. Binge listen and fill your soul with happiness. Don't binge watch anything, binge listen. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.